Well, Tambora volcanic eruption was a key happening. It's Indonesia, 1815. The largest volcanic eruption in at least 1300 years. It ejected so much ash it caused the year without a summer in 1816, leading to worldwide crop failures, to say the least, I would think. Let's look at something just a bit earlier. Laki, Iceland, 1783 to 84. This massive fissure eruption released 122 megatons of sulfur dioxide, creating a dry fog that spread across the northern hemisphere. The Mount Tambora of 1815 that I mentioned just before this released 200 million tons of sulfur dioxide. That's what caused the year without a summer, northern hemisphere. Serious stuff. The 1780s Icelandic one reckoned to have contributed significantly to the unrest of bringing about the French Revolution. Put both of these effects together and numerous other eruptions that I could list, and will probably in a note to this recording. I wonder if that's what wiped out Tartaria. I mean, it's been suggested by other people, of course, not just my idea. Supposing those buildings do actually generate their own heat in the walls through conducting atmospheric energy, well, sunlight was obscured much by this seismic activity going on over this sort of 50-year period. Whoever peopled these fantastic properties, white marble appearance, or rather, I think it's limestone, but still. Well, it's a mix. It's not even clearly it looks as though it might be a composite type man-made rock of limestone and a mixture of other things, but embedded copper in the walls, and of course copper domes and so on, if not gold, I'm not sure at times. Good electrical conductors, of course. But if there's a severe drop in solar energy generation getting to the surface of the planet, these buildings become like a fridge. Not to mention, of course, the crops not growing. This is assuming they're not giants living there that don't need food, of course. I mean, there are peculiarities like absence of structural built-in toilets to these places, apart from makeshift, more recent activity of the occupants, whoever they were. Rather more normal stepland peasants, I would imagine. And I do mean imagine here, I don't mean I know. Did the mud cause it? No, I think the mud all over the world was through an amazing amount of seismic activity. That's what happens. Liquefaction and you name it. It can be a metre, it can be several metres. Blocking out the lower portions of buildings, well, yeah, but they may have, well, the occupants may have already, I'd say, left, died of the cold due to the reduction of solar radiation getting through. Let me back this up with a bit more detail. This is an AI contribution. Between 1780 and 1820, the world witnessed some of the most climatically significant geological events in recorded history, including eruptions that altered global temperatures and triggered major social upheavals. So that's the summary. So we go through the volcanic ones first. Laki, Iceland, 1783 to 84, massive fissure eruption released 122 megatons, that's million tons, of sulfur dioxide, creating a dry fog that spread across northern hemisphere, resulting in famine. Let's see, I lost it, hang on a sec. Iceland's population caused extreme weather that contributed to the French Revolution. Mount Tambora, Indonesia, 1815, largest volcanic eruption, 1300 years. Ejected so much that it caused a year without summer, 1816, so we know all that. We've got that. Mount Vesuvius, multiple, a very active period for the volcano, with notable eruptions 1779, 1785, 94, 1805, 1810, 1812, 1813, 1817, 1820. Okay. Significant earthquakes. 1783, a devastating sequence of 5 major earthquakes struck southern Italy over 2 months, causing massive tsunamis and tens of thousands of fatalities. Mexico, 87, an 8.3 magnitude earthquake, one of the largest in Mexican history, March 28, 1787. USA. You've seen mudslides, mud effects in the USA on these buildings too. These classified, if you like, as Tartarian-style buildings. A series of at least 3 massive earthquakes, magnitudes 7 and to 8, in the central USA that were so powerful they reportedly caused the Mississippi River to flow backwards for a time. What's next? Iceland, 1783. Intense earthquake swarms preceded and accompanied the Laki eruption, which again. You can visit the USGS Earthquake Hazards Program or the Smithsonian Institution of Global volcanism program, it says here. And so you can do your own research, so to speak. Well, in summary, more or less, I suppose we're talking about the worst seismic activity in recorded history. Yeah. And what do we get in the 1800s? Suddenly Tartaria disappears from the maps, and we're left with supposing that the only thing out there is then the nomadic peoples, and, well, not that nomadic, but other indigenous peoples that didn't rely on this wonderful technology, perhaps, that could survive, no problem, Russian winters. And perhaps as we go back, the Russian winters weren't quite that bad as we envisage. It's certainly enough to finish off Napoleon trying to come home from Moscow. But there was something I noticed about when the first light snows were experienced. He was already in Moscow, wasn't he? It's not that he'd lost his soldiers because of the cold at that point. He'd lost his soldiers, so many of them, because of the lack of REME, ordnance, supplies, food, scorched earth policy going ahead of him by the Russians as they made retreat, battles all the way, reducing the number of his men anyway, but starvation, and it's also reported disease. So by the time he gets to Moscow, it's said that his force was down from 800,000 to something like 100,000. Of course, you can't rely on the figures, but something not good, put it that way. And this is before the cold really sets in on the return trip home. And it's a long way from, between Moscow and the Polish border. 500 miles. Suffice to say, he's in no position really to fight major wars from then on. I mean, the Prussians and the British had a relatively easy job to cope with. I don't mean it was not the usual fearful, horrible battle. But the job had already been done, hadn't it? And in as far as people at all are responsible for the downfall of Napoleon, it's the Russians coping with him attacking Moscow, harassing him all the way there, and probably all the way home. Is this a likely account of the situation? Might be. It's a historicity, I'm sure, but thank you, Heavenly Dad. I just want to add a note. There was some unaccountable Chinese major eruptions going on too. I'm not sure if they were earthquakes or eruptions now, but massive apparently. Well, of course, if we're talking about Tartaria of the maps, the earliest maps, then we're talking about China as well. There's Chinese Tartaria, and it's all part of what appears to be the Tartarian Empire, but is possibly more like a confederation again, Yes, these are in this time period as well. Everything's happening around the world. And it coincides, of course, as we've said here, with Tartaria disappearing from the maps. Not because of some cover-up, I don't think. I mean, it could be. That's the conspiracy theory, but I mean, simply because it no longer existed. And they don't know much about why, but I mean, all of Europe and so on had been suffering this experience of this 50-year period. And you get to even in something like England, I remember studying, at school, 1832 Poor Law. What are they coping with? Poverty. It was a terrible time after the Napoleonic Wars. There was incredible unrest in England, for instance. Wellington, Duke of Wellington, who became Prime Minister, was doing all he could to crush the unrest. Policy shifted a bit by 1830, and they thought perhaps they actually should do something about helping towards minimising difficulty of the poor. But yes, orphanages, massive number. Where did the parents go to? Famines, wars. I would think that would be enough to make earning. And even in something like the United States, the Mississippi doesn't sound as though it was behaving quite normally at the time, due to seismic activities and mud flood evidence that we've got round these suspiciously Tartarian-looking buildings that seem to have existed. And yeah, they took them down in the end. They didn't know what to do with them, I suppose. And perhaps, yes, they did want to hide the fact that perhaps Tartaria had extended its reach across the planet to the Americas. After all, the Bering Strait's not that wide, is it? Perhaps they did have settlements in North and South America and so on across the planet, because, well, they were the forerunner, perhaps, of the Confederation trade type approach to empire. Not empire at all. You simply go there and the people don't mind you because you're not exploiting them anyway. You're actually a help in some way. And you bring perhaps law and order, I don't know, civilization in a sense. And we're not talking about the glorious British now, you understand. We're saying, no, that was just a latter development. This is an early development. Tartaria seems to have been a peaceful confederation, really. It's the word I want to use. I don't know how valid that is. Yes, thank you, Heavenly Dad.